The movie begins with a German family who comes to France for a vacation. Sitting in their car as they witness a very violent protest about the current economic downtrend, John, the head of the family, assures everyone not to worry since the car's windows are bulletproof so they are safe. When they arrive at the family mansion, the couple tries to get intimate, but they begin to hear some unsettling noises from the ceiling. This makes them uncomfortable, so Esther books a hotel for them to spend the night. Meanwhile, at the Fontaine Hotel, a group of working teenagers relaxes in one of the hotel rooms. One of them takes a guest's wine bottle, pulls down his pants, and dumps some urine into it as they all laugh about it. During family time together in the hotel, their daughter performs a card trick which everyone cheers for. Esther is distracted by a call from work, and that's when the hotel cleaner starts to eavesdrop on her conversation. Immediately, she heads out on a bike with a friend after learning that the family won't be spending time together at the hotel. On the road, the hotel cleaner gets a cut on her arm with the help of her friend. The family is driving back home when John gets distracted while looking at his wife and accidentally hits something. Looking ahead, they spot a girl on the roadside who appears to be injured. They quickly rush to her to see if they can help. Seeing the cut on her arm, John offers her a napkin to help stop the bleeding, telling his wife that the girl needs to go to the hospital. However, she insists on approaching her. The girl introduces herself as Teodora, and after learning she's from Spain, Esther helps her cover the wound, ignoring what her husband told her about taking the girl to a hospital. Esther offers to bring her to their home, where she can help treat her injuries with some first aid kits. Teodora refuses to go with her, insisting that she needs to go to a hospital, but Esther insists it would be best if she comes with them. Arriving home, Esther quickly unties the napkin to reveal the injury. Their daughter Alba comments that it looks more like a cut than an injury from a car accident, but they ignore her since she's just a little child. Noticing the unkempt state of the room, Teodora points out that leaving the dishes unwashed brings in all kinds of animals. John replies that they are only there for a vacation. Esther takes Teodora to a room where she would spend the night and drops some cash for her. John appears to be very nervous after his wife accuses him of drinking at the hotel before driving, which he begs her not to tell her father. In the morning, Esther comes to check on Teodora and finds out that she has left. She tells her husband that she offered her some money, and he says it wasn't enough since she would need a doctor for proper treatment. Feeling bad for his actions, he wishes he had given her more. Sensing his uneasiness, Esther tries to comfort her husband. Soon, Teodora is seen at the front gate of the house. John never anticipated that she'd return since his wife has given her some money. John is reluctant to let her in at first but opens the gate anyway. As they sit to discuss why she came back, Teodora reveals that she has been fired from her workplace for coming in late and for hygiene reasons. Since she can't support herself with the money she got earlier, she offers to be their maid and sleep in the guest house until she finds a new job, saying she could do all manner of work like cleaning, cooking, and housekeeping. John doesn't need her in the house and offers to pay her €1,600 not to ever see her again. Teodora makes it clear that she didn't come back to be bribed and was only looking for a job. After a brief argument from the couple about how they got to this point, Esther immediately hires her. Settling down in the guest room, Teodora tries to smoke in front of the kids, but Alba tells her they don't do such, but Philip opens a window for her so she can do what she wants. Alba keeps staring at her, intrigued by the way she handles her lighter, and Teodora shows her how to do it, asking her to try it herself, but she refuses. John tells his wife that she shouldn't have given Teodora the job, and Esther replies that they are on holiday and she needs some rest and having a maid do the house chores would be a good relief. That night John hears a noise and goes downstairs to check, finding a rabbit that's half dead. Teodora startles him and tells him that they need to put it out of its misery, offering him a tool to finish off the animal. The next morning, while seeing Alba swim, Teodora drops a pack of cigarettes and a lighter in her room before cleaning the house. Esther unplugs the vacuum since the noise makes her uncomfortable. Alba is painting but gets distracted by the lighter as she begins to play with it. Teodora offers to read out a French book for her to teach her some French words and ends up teaching her curse words. After reading the words for her, Teodora opens her wound and allows Alba to touch it without feeling any pain. While she's doing the laundry, their son, Philip, joins her, and they talk about his carbon-made bicycle that only weighs 8 pounds. When she's preparing food for the family, she cuts some raw meat and chews on it without Alba noticing, later teaching her how to cut her own meat. That evening, they are visited by a family friend, Aki, and his wife, Cora. They talk about their lives in Germany and the day they got married. Cora is happy that they are living a good life, and Philip points out that maybe it's because her husband is rich and she doesn't have to work hard as servers or house cleaners like Teodora. Aki mentions that they too had to work hard to get to this point, and since he makes such a comment, John thinks he needs to get a job instead. but Philip says he doesn't have to work since his parents are both wealthy. Esther asks Aki about her husband's published article on his science project, but Aki doesn't want to comment on that, making Esther feel that maybe her husband is hiding something from her. When she asks about it again after dinner, John says it's nothing and leaves. The family then takes a boat ride to the beach, and Philip keeps filming everyone, including Teodora. When they get to the beach, Esther refuses to join them for a swim due to her swimming phobia. She gets a call from her work colleague, and when she's not looking, Teodora steals her phone, not noticing that Alba saw her in the act. Soon, Esther starts looking for her phone, and since she can't find it, they cancel the fun time. Teodora offers to take her to get a new phone. Frustrated that the internet keeps breaking and she can't communicate with her work partner, Esther sees Teodora so free-spirited and carefree. She decides to join her and smoke, where they share their thoughts on running away from responsibilities. Teodora encourages her to do so if she truly wants to be happy. That evening, Esther spends some time thinking about it. Later, she gets in bed with her husband, and they are both doing different things. John wishes he could be her phone so she can touch him always and tries to get intimate with his wife, but she says she has taken her sleeping pills and needs to rest. Meanwhile, Philip is in his room looking at the video he took earlier that day, gazing at Teodora with a sense of lust. The next morning, as John takes his bike for a ride, pretending to know about the make, Teodora comments on it, striking up a conversation with John. Faking her interest in bikes, they go on a ride together, and John is truly happy to have someone with him in that moment. At home, seeing how serious Esther is with her work, Teodora tells her not to be so hard on herself. Taking a break for a moment, Esther looks out through the window and sees Teodora playing and laughing with her son. Meanwhile, Alba sits alone, staring at the ceiling while her mom is engulfed in her work, not noticing how lonely her little daughter is. Trying to engage with her mom, Alba tells her that she saw Teodora steal her phone. To clear things up, Esther takes Alba to confront Teodora, who denies taking the phone and reverses the question, asking Alba why she would accuse her of such a thing, trying to play innocent. Alba can't believe that her mom would trust what a stranger says and not her, so she runs back into the house. Later, Teodora keeps picking at her wound to make it look fresh so she doesn't have to leave the family. Esther, who is oblivious to the situation, sees her bleeding and offers to help clean it up. She also offers to take Teodora out to dinner. During the dinner, Esther reveals that she isn't unhappy with her life. In fact, she has no right to be unhappy since she has almost everything anyone could wish for. Teodora, appearing to wear the gown Esther offered her, uses the opportunity to tell her that it was her daughter, Alba, who took the phone away. She tells Esther where Alba hides it and asks her not to tell or punish her for it. That evening, while drinking his life away, John gets a notification from Aki but chooses to ignore it. Meanwhile, Esther joins Teodora and goes to the club to meet her friends. One of guys known as Lucien approaches Esther and offers her his drink. At first, she refuses but then takes a sip. She acknowledges that he looks familiar, but Lucien doesn't comment. Not long after, Esther joins in the fun as she dances with no care in the world. After the clubbing, they all run to the beach. As everyone gets in to swim, Esther refuses to join them, reminding Teodora that she is scared of entering the water. But with the help of Lucien, she is able to overcome her fear and joins them for a swim for the first time in a very long while. Everyone gathers around as they eat steak. Esther takes a bite and says it's very delicious. When she asks about one of their friends she met last night, they tell her she's gone, not noticing what they mean by that. When she returns home, Esther appears to have grown so attached to Teodora and tells her she has never felt this free in so many years. Teodora quotes an article to her that says the old world is dying and the new world is going to be born. Now is the time of monsters. Not understanding what it really means, Esther just laughs it off. John is clearly unhappy with his current life but can't complain about it to his wife. Seeing Aki looking for her husband, Esther grows more suspicious of John and thinks maybe he's hiding something very deep. John spends time with Teodora in a bar, where he complains about the shortcomings of his wife, saying she's so self-centered and whereas he's always working hard to put things together for the family. Teodora, who offers a listening ear, tells him all he needs to hear, which helps him calm down a little bit. Esther ends up searching the place where Teodora told her Alba is hiding her phone and finds it there. Alba is taking care of her pet frog when her mom shows up. She tells her that Teodora has been stealing her underwear. Esther laughs it off and tells her to stop accusing Teodora of such things. Alba insists she's not lying, and disappointed that her mom wouldn't believe her, she leaves. Esther approaches her husband to tell him about his friend visiting and asks why he was there, but John says it's nothing. Furious that her husband is keeping things from her, she yells at him to tell her the truth. Out of frustration, John reveals that his company wants to fire him because his research findings were fake results. He explains that he's been under so much pressure, but she never notices this because she's so absorbed in her own work and doesn't care about him and the children anymore. Teodora brings Esther a written note from Lucien, and inside it, he expresses his desire to see her again. That evening, Philip can't help but keep staring at the picture of Teodora that they took together. When his sister enters his room, she wants to join him in his room, but he refuses, saying she should go to their mom. Alba can't do so and says she would share how she does her card trick if he allows her to sleep in his room. But Philip refuses, pointing out that they all know how she does her trick and that there isn't anything special about it. He adds that they all pretended to like it just to make her happy. Disappointed, she leaves. The next morning, Esther sneaks out of her home to meet with Lucien, where they share a kiss before he takes her on a bike for a road trip. In the morning, John invites Teodora to join them at the table for breakfast. Teodora uses the opportunity to act like their mother as she questions Alba about her sleep last night, even asking about her pet frog. Teodora also mentions that some of her friends would be visiting her and asks for permission to entertain them, and John agrees to have them. Alba spends time alone in the compound playing with the lighter while singing the curse words Teodora taught her. Later, two of her friends visit the home, and they spend time by the poolside as if they were some distinguished guests. Cora comes to check up on John and sees this, warning John that the maid might be up to something bad and encourages him to fire her, but John's midlife crisis seems to be more overwhelming than what Teodora and her friends are doing. Coupled with the wife's sudden disappearance, Cora offers to stay the night, and it turns out that they are having a hidden affair. Esther, on the other hand, is having so much fun at the beach with Lucien, as both couples ignore their children and matrimonial responsibilities. Alba couldn't sleep that night, so she tries reading a book. Teodora sees this and genuinely cares about her. She touches her hair, and this causes an unusual sensation for the little girl, who asks her to do it again so she can fall asleep. Philip is bored in his room with nothing to play with, so he goes out for a walk and sees Teodora lying on her bed in just her underwear, so he tries to take a picture only for Teodora to catch him in the act, calling him a pervert and he should be ashamed of himself, so he scurries away with his bike. Esther wakes up and goes to the fridge to drink some water, only to find lots of packed meat that is about to rot. Lucien sees her staring at it and asks what she's doing. Curious, she asks why there is so much meat in his fridge, but Lucien doesn't say anything, so she simply takes the water she initially came for, while Lucien keeps staring at her in a weird manner. Alba keeps trying the trick Teodora taught her, and when she finally gets it, she tries to show it to her father, but he scolds her for playing with a dangerous object and takes it from her, warning her not to play with such things next time, and goes back to his practice. Discouraged by all her efforts, the little girl simply walks away, while Esther and her new boyfriend ride on his bike through the city to a birthday party. There, she meets a young man, and he reveals that Lucien and his friends works at the hotel bar where she and her family visited one time, and at that moment Esther recalls asking Lucien she'd seen him from somewhere before but couldn't recall. Esther starts to regain her senses. When she looks at the crowd, and for a moment they all seem to stare at her, but this is just her imagination. She tries calling her husband, who doesn't pick up, so she leaves a voice message telling him she's coming home. When Lucien approaches her, she excuses herself to the bathroom. There, she starts to realize that she left her home for a stranger so she can be with another stranger. Thinking of her kids, the abnormalities, and the meat she saw earlier in the fridge, reality starts to hit hard. Scared, she walks out of the room and enters another room, only to see one of Lucien's friends eating another human. Trembling, she tries to leave the party, but she's blocked by Teodora, who pushes her back. Esther was thinking they were friends, but Teodora makes it clear that she was never her friend or anything. She just underestimated her. It turns out Teodora is in a gang that targets the wealthy, not for their money, but to tear them apart. Finally succumbing to her fate, the group gathers around her to feast on her flesh. John wakes up in the middle of the night from the noise of Teodora's friends having fun by the poolside. He goes down to warn them about the noise and tells them they'll be leaving first thing in the morning. Cora joins him afterward and tells John to kick them out before leaving. John can't help it and starts drinking again. He goes upstairs and hears some rattling on the ceiling, so he goes to check on it, only for Teodora and her gang to corner him, and he is killed. Philip returns home in the morning and finds the gang sleeping in a pile. He checks on his sister, who is fast asleep, so he leaves, not realizing that Teodora is pretending not to hear his call, and they leave immediately. He goes to the kitchen and finds a piece of beef. Ignoring the looks on the table, Philip takes a bite, only to gnaw on a strange object. When he checks, it turns out to be his father's wedding ring, while Teodora rides on a bike to another city with Alba holding onto her. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video and would love to see more from this channel, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications.